normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Foreign policy experience.
Ron is laughing at
was
that.
closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. So do everybody a favor. Just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race.
Whoa!
I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go die in somebody else's war,
Hold on.
you better, excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't
had your chance,
when you
and we're going to be done. So
I don't know.
listen
It's
up
a
to
little
this.
much.
Is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq. To justify that invasion, didn't know the first thing about it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go die.
He's already dead.
I know, dude. Holy shit.
Sorry. Like, some of his other points are getting lost
$7 trillion
now.
of our national debt due to these toxic neocons.
I don't mind what he's saying, but there is a moment we have to be like, I deliver points soundly, I'm going to keep going.
Neocon.
He's crushing them.
Thank you, Mr.
Dick Cheney
Ramaswamy.
all over again in this
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. 15
He's putting
seconds.
gas in the stage, dude.
Wow.
Name the provinces. Neither of you could even
Mr.
look at this thing about Eastern
Ramaswamy,
Europe.
You got him with that one, dude.
and Crimea.
Think about that.
Let me just
Not Crimea. It's not Crimea. That's not the one they're talking
All
about.
right, the floor is Christie's.
All right. Let me just say this.
Chaos.
You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience. You know, I was the U.S. attorney in New Jersey when the terrorist attacks were launched against the United States in 2001.
That's not what we're talking
I brought
about.
the first two cases in this country against terrorists who tried to attack us again.
Dude.
I just got to point
And
something
I
out.
know about the threat of terrorism and bullying.
Remember, 9/11 argument doesn't work when you have a large voter base, younger voters, who were not, who were little children or not even alive.
I was 20.
Mouth at Harvard.
I was
That's what
a
was
Marine,
going on.
an active duty guy,
And so,
but like I was
and
20,
the fact of the
dude.
matter
Like
is that
I
back
was a
then he was a
kid.
Democrat.
But even
So,
like,
you know,
but you remember it.
I
was 14. But there are actual voters right now.
Weren't even alive.
Born after.
Is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
All right, thank you, Governor Christie.
I hate the term public service. Sorry,
It's
if you're,
funny that
if you're an
she
elected
said-
official, you're not a public
She said
servant.
Crimea, and that's funny because
Crimea's been rushed for a long time.
Dude, that's not what's in contention right now.
Right. And so Vivek, I think he absolutely nailed them with that question.
Dude.
Which provinces do you actually want to defend? Well, they're called oblasts.
Yep,
They're administrative regions, and they're basically just named after their cities. But everyone knows Donetsk and Luhansk. Those are the principal in the Donbass region.
Yep.
And then I guess the argument would be Kharkiv and Kiev, which is where Russian forces and attacked through Belarus.
Yep.
Crimea, they want to liberate, not defend. But I don't want to be too pedantic.
Sure.
Nikki Haley. I don't know how she got those answers. Someone rushed to, did she check her phone, look down and be like, quick, give me.
No,
Maybe.
I think the
Because you
problem
see the look
is,
on her
like,
face when he asked.
She is waiting for the moderator to be like, and now you speak. And that's not the game Vivek is playing. That's not the game, to a certain extent, DeSantis is playing. Like, he said it. She didn't even realize the camera was on her, so she's staring blankly because she's listening to someone who's standing over there. Maybe she does know the regions, maybe she doesn't, but it was perfectly teed up by Ramaswamy. She was not quick enough to respond. That's really what it was.
I think the fact that she said Crimea shows she doesn't know what she's talking about.
She doesn't.
And it took her like 5 minutes to get to it, right? She could have said it
Mm-hmm.
immediately. Instead, she was flustered by being called out. Like
Crimea's been for a decade under the control of Russia. And in Sevastopol, the Russians have already been there well before that with their naval base. So maybe you can argue she didn't understand what exactly he meant and she was interpreting as, but I'm not playing that game.
Yeah, sure.
He immediately called her out. And if it were me, I'd be like, look, first of all, I don't actually care all that much about Ukraine. My whole position is more along with Vivek of we should not be sending troops over there and fortifying this. But immediately I was like, wait, I'm like Donetsk and Luhansk, like that's the news.
Yeah.
I can name those two right now.
Yeah.
Now, and then as for
You
the
could
other
be
ones,
president too, Tim.
Yeah. The one thing I'm not sure of is I know those are the names of the regions, but I fact checked. They're basically the names of the cities. So Kharkiv, Kiev, those are also the names of the
Belgorod, Dnipro. I'm reading them off a map right now.
Zaporizhia, etc.
Sumy,
Crimea.
Well, the funny thing is, if you think about it, right? So it's like, we pull out of Afghanistan in the most horrible way.
Surrender.
Full surrender.
My buddy who came with me here, who's downstairs right now, like he was up, like got no sleep for weeks, trying to get guys out. Right, a lot of guys did. Right, trying to get guys out of there. It was a total disaster. And then 6 months later, all the the military industrial complex, right? They needed new business. So it's like business development. Like, what do you know? Right, 6 months later, we got a new war, more money, all that. I'm not trying to sound too conspiratorial, but it looks that way.
Yeah, when they split up the Soviet Union and they gave all that land to the Ukraine, those oligarchs must have known it was going to cause contention with Russia down the line, not having access to the Black Sea.
And we don't call it the Ukraine; we call it Ukraine.
It is borderland.
I know you're
borderland?
You're absolutely true. I'm no like Eastern European Russian expert, but I know.
Ukraine.
Right. It's like all of a sudden everyone has to say Kyiv now instead of Kiev. Come on.
We spelled Zelensky's name like 3 different
Zelensky.
ways. It's crazy. How many Y's? Fewer Y's? Maybe more Y's?
It's 7 Y's.
I think it is worth noting that ultimately Christie was right that it's about Trump more than anything else.
Of course.
And it is interesting to watch the fighting. Like, it's not. I think Vivek is performing well.
Awesome.
There've been interesting moments, but ultimately the question remains: how will anyone stand up if they were to debate Trump?
They won't.
It shows the two legitimate candidates is DeSantis and Ramaswamy, and then the other two are like war hawks that are just kind of on the trail,
100%.
big money.
Yeah,
100%. That's absolutely it. And honestly, like I was saying earlier, is like on that stage, like Vivek's the guy. He's the guy, absolutely, for like normal folks.
I think he has the charisma. I mean, I think there are questions about his policies in some respects, but I think he always has been the most charismatic person in all of these debate performances. Again, he does have the occasional thing. He said something like, I have a longer future than Donald Trump. He has sparred with Donald Trump very indirectly.
Sure.
And again, I wonder what that would look like if they were up against each other.
It's more anecdotal, but he's humble in the sense that he was willing to come in and do this interview when Tim was out of town. So I interviewed, Hannah Claire interviewed him with Seamus Coughlin.
And hold on, it's worse than that. We had a miscommunication here about who was contacting his team to let him know that I was at a doctor's appointment, not going to be in town, and so they found out really late. And Vivek was super cool. He's like, "No, don't worry about it. I get it, man. These things happen."
Indication to me, he will listen to his advisors. Like that's a huge, important thing for a leader.
Absolutely. But also the fact that like he'll go talk anywhere. He'll go like obviously this is a huge show.
Here we go. We're back.
Huge show, but it's like he goes on all the podcasts. It's great.
On the southern
Nikki
border.
does not.
Polls show immigration and the crisis are among the most pressing issues for Republican voters right now. Both
Just
the issue of
immigration
migrants
crisis.
crossing illegally into our country and the separate issue of fentanyl being smuggled in mostly through legal ports of entry. All year, News Nation has been at the border documenting the crisis. In 2023 alone,
Bonkers.
Border Patrol encountered a record
Bad
2.4
shit.
I hear News Nation does a pretty good job.
million migrants.
Yeah.
They've got some good
All
stuff.
4 of you have talked tough.
Cuomo
the
redemption
question
arc.
now is how realistic is the talk? So, Governor DeSantis, I'd like to start with you. You have pledged to send the military to the southern border on day one of your administration with orders to shoot, quote, stone cold dead.
He does, dude.
Anyone illegally entering with a backpack that you believe contains fentanyl. Critics have called this a shoot first, ask questions later policy that would amount to extrajudicial killing. You are a former military lawyer. Why do you think this idea of yours would be legal?
The drug cartels are invading our country, and they are killing our citizens by the tens of thousands every year. We had a situation in Florida. There was an 18-month-old baby that was crawling on the floor of an Airbnb rental. There was fentanyl residue on the carpet, and the baby died. Is this acceptable in this country? I know the elites in D.C., they don't care. They don't care that fentanyl's ravaging your community. They don't care that illegal aliens are ravaging our community and overwhelming our community. The commander-in-chief not only has a right, you have a responsibility to fight back against these people.
And does that mean shooting first?
It means you're going to categorize them as foreign terrorist organizations, and we will identify, just like we would anywhere. When I was in Iraq, the Al-Qaeda wasn't wearing a uniform. You'd see anyone walking down the street, they all had man dresses on. You didn't know if someone had a bomb, an IED attached or not. And so you had to make a judgment based on intelligence, based on positive identification. But we're going to be able to get the intelligence on these cartel people. And here's the thing. If we had a wall across the southern border, which I support, this would not have happened. We need to build a wall across the southern border. I'll get it done, and Mexico is supposed to pay for it. Remember, here's how you do that. I am going to have fees on remittances from foreign workers when they send the money back to foreign countries. We're going to tax it, and we're going to build a wall with that. So yes, you should have had that, but we don't have it. I'm going to build it, but we have to lean in on this problem. I am not going to sit there and allow mothers to lose more kids because of fentanyl overdose. I am not going to sit there and let sex trafficking go unabated or human trafficking go unabated. There's going to be a new sheriff in town, and these drug cartels better buckle up.
Nothing disagreeable there.
Ambassador Haley, you have pledged to catch and deport all migrants who are here in this country illegally. Then you said in Londonderry, New Hampshire last month that you will not deport those who are working and paying taxes rather than feeding off the system.
She knows.
Which is it?
So first of all, what I said is all of the 7 or 8 million illegals that have come under Biden's watch absolutely have to go back. We have to stop the incentive of what's bringing them over here in the first place. Biden just gave temporary protective status to 500,000 Venezuelans. That's a 500,000 Social Security cards. That's a 500,000 driver's licenses. And I know from my time at the United Nations, the first thing they do is pick up the phone and said, we came over, come on over. And that's what sends more. You have to go and deport these people so they know it can't happen again. For those that have been here longer than that, we've got to start seeing who is it, how long have they been here, have they been vetted, have
Japan,
they paid taxes, have they been working, and figure out who else is out there. But what I know is my parents came here legally. They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by those that are coming illegally. We can't let them skip the line. But when you talk about fentanyl like you did before, let's look at something else. Yes, I think we should send special operations over and take out the cartels. I think we should do a remain in Mexico policy so they never step foot in U.S. soil in the first place. But look at where fentanyl came from. Let's go to the heart of the matter. It came from China. That's why we need to end all normal trade relations with China until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. I promise you, they need our economy. They will immediately stop that. But this is where Trump went wrong. Trump was good on trade, but that's all he was with China. Because here he allowed fentanyl to continue to come over. He continued to allow them to he would give them technology that would build up their military and hurt us. He allowed the Chinese infiltration for them to buy up farmland, to put money in our universities, and to continue to do things that were harmful for America. We now have a spy base in Cuba and police stations, and Trump didn't do anything about it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.